The Awakening. The cold metal floor pressed against Commander Sarah Chen's cheek as consciousness slowly returned. Her head throbbed with each heartbeat, and the taste of blood filled her mouth. The last thing she remembered was the bridge of the EDF Prometheus exploding around her as alien weapons tore through their shields. That had been 5 months ago, according to the strange markings on the wall that seemed to count days. Sarah pushed herself up on her elbows, blinking in the dim red light that bathed the cell. 3 other figures lay on makeshift beds around the small room, all wearing the same gray prison uniforms that scratched against her skin. She recognized them immediately, even in the poor light. Her crew, her family. Dr. Marcus Webb stirred first, his graying hair disheveled, and his usually neat beard now wild and unkempt. The chief engineer had designed half the systems on their ship, his brilliant mind always finding solutions where others saw only problems. His eyes met Sarah's, and she saw the same quiet determination that had gotten them through countless battles. Lieutenant Anna Rodriguez sat up next, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail despite their circumstances. The weapons specialist had joined Sarah's crew just 2 years ago, but she had proven herself in every engagement. Her small frame hid the fierce warrior within, and Sarah had never seen her back down from a fight. Sergeant Jake Morrison was already awake, sitting with his back against the wall and watching the door. The security chief never truly slept in dangerous situations, a habit that had saved their lives more times than Sarah could count. His scarred hands rested on his knees, ready to move at the first sign of trouble. "Where are we?" Sarah whispered, her voice hoarse from disuse. "Prison ship," Jake replied quietly. "Been here 5 months, near as we can tell. They move us around for work details, but this is home sweet home." Sarah looked around the cell more carefully. The walls were metal, but something about them felt familiar. The curvature, the way the corners were welded, even the faint vibration through the floor. Her engineering background, learned before she became a captain, told her something important. "Marcus," she said softly, "what do these walls remind you of?" The engineer studied their surroundings with professional interest. His eyes widened slowly. "Earth standard construction. Type 7 hull plating." "Sarah, this is human built." Before anyone could respond, heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. The cell doors slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing 2 guards in powered armor. Between them stood a creature that made Sarah's blood run cold. Overlord Krex was nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled hide a mottled green and brown. 4 arms ended in clawed hands, and his reptilian head held eyes like black diamonds. When he spoke, his voice came through a translation device that made every word sound like a threat. "The human captain awakens. Good. We have much to discuss." Sarah stood slowly, refusing to show weakness. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. According to interstellar law." Krex's laugh was like grinding metal. "Your laws died with your pathetic fleet, human. You are prisoners now, nothing more. But useful prisoners, if you cooperate." 2 guards stepped forward and seized Sarah's arms. She didn't resist as they dragged her from the cell, but she caught Marcus's eye and mouthed a single word: "Remember." The interrogation room was stark and white, with a single chair in the center. Sarah was forced to sit while Krex circled her like a predator. The alien's 4 arms gestured as he spoke, each movement calculated to intimidate. "Your ship, the Prometheus, was quite impressive," Krex began. "Your technology is primitive but creative. We have learned much from studying it." Sarah kept her face blank, but inside her heart raced. If the Prometheus had been captured intact, if her crew was here. "Tell me about your quantum drive systems," Krex continued. "How do you achieve faster than light travel without our crystalline matrices?" "I'm just a captain," Sarah replied. "I don't understand the technical details." Krex's tail lashed behind him. "Do not lie to me, human. We know you studied engineering before command. We know you helped design the systems we now struggle to understand. The alien leaned close, his breath hot against her face. "Your species has a saying. Knowledge is power. Today, your knowledge will determine whether your crew lives or dies." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "Then you'll have to kill us all, because I'll never help you use our technology against Earth." Krex studied her for a long moment, then gestured to the guards. "Return her to the others. Perhaps watching her friend suffer will change her mind." Back in the cell, Sarah found her crew waiting anxiously. She quickly whispered what she had learned, watching their faces change as the implications sank in. "They have the Prometheus," Marcus breathed, "but they don't understand how it works. That's why they keep interrogating the technical crew," Anna added. "They've been taking engineers and scientists for weeks." Jake leaned forward. "Sarah, if this is our ship, then we know it better than they do," Sarah finished. "Every system, every backup, every hidden protocol." Over the following days, they began to carefully observe their surroundings. During work details, they memorized guard rotations and ship layouts. Anna noted weapons placements and security measures. Marcus identified which systems had been modified and which remained unchanged. Jake mapped prisoner locations and identified potential allies. The Prometheus had been converted into a mobile prison, with human captives held throughout the ship. But the aliens had made a critical error. They had kept the human crew together in groups, assuming it would make them easier to control. Instead, it allowed the prisoners to maintain their military organization and chain of command. Sarah began to recognize other faces during mealtimes and work details. Chief Petty Officer Lisa Park from Engineering, Dr. James Liu from the Medical Bay, Communications Specialist David Kim, dozens of her crew, all alive, all waiting for orders. Using a combination of hand signals, coded conversations, and messages hidden in their work, Sarah began to rebuild her command structure. The aliens monitored their communications, but they didn't understand human military protocols or the subtle ways information could be passed. The breakthrough came during Sarah's third interrogation. Krex was growing frustrated with her refusal to cooperate, and his questions became more specific. He showed her technical readouts from the ship's systems, demanding explanations. "Your fusion reactors are unstable," he snarled. "3 have shut down completely. Our engineers cannot make them function." Sarah studied the data, her mind racing. The reactors weren't malfunctioning. They were operating in safe mode, waiting for proper authorization codes. Marcus had designed multiple fail-safes into the ship's systems, protocols that would prevent enemy forces from using captured Earth technology. "The reactors require specific startup sequences," she said carefully. "Without them, the systems won't engage. Then you will provide these sequences." "I can't. They're biometric locked to specific crew members. Even if I wanted to help you, I lack the clearance." Krex's eyes narrowed. "Then we will find crew members who do have clearance." That night, Sarah shared her discovery with her team. The ship's critical systems were still partially under human control, locked behind security measures the aliens couldn't bypass. But there was more. "I've been watching the guard rotations," Jake reported. "They're understaffed. Maybe 200 aliens running a ship designed for a crew of 800. The weapons systems are barely functional," Anna added. "They've disabled most of our armaments, probably because they can't figure out how to use them safely." Marcus smiled grimly. "The ship's AI is still active, just dormant. If we could reach a command terminal with proper authorization, we could wake up the Prometheus," Sarah finished. "Turn a prison ship back into a warship." The plan took weeks to develop. They had to coordinate with prisoners throughout the ship, timing their actions perfectly. The aliens had grown complacent, viewing the humans as broken and defeated. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The opportunity came when long-range sensors detected something that made Krex excited. Sarah overheard the alien commander speaking to his officers about a final strike and finishing the human homeworld. The Prometheus was heading toward Earth, carrying a massive alien fleet. "They're using our ship as a command vessel," Marcus realized. leading their forces to Earth. Sarah felt a cold fury build in her chest. The aliens had captured her ship, imprisoned her crew, and now planned to use both to destroy her homeworld. It was time to remind them why humanity had survived every challenge the universe had thrown at them. That night, as the alien crew settled into their routine, Sarah gave the signal that would change everything. Across the ship, human prisoners began to move with quiet purpose. 5 months of planning were about to be put to the test. The uprising was about to begin, and the aliens were about to learn that they hadn't captured prisoners. They had collected an entire crew of highly trained warriors on their own ship, and those warriors were very, very angry. The reckoning. The maintenance shaft was barely wide enough for Sarah to crawl through, but it was exactly where Marcus had said it would be. The aliens had modified much of the Prometheus, but they couldn't change the basic structure without rebuilding the entire ship. Every access tunnel, every service corridor, every hidden passage was exactly as Sarah remembered. Behind her, Anna followed silently, carrying improvised weapons they had crafted from maintenance tools. Jake brought up the rear, his military training making him nearly invisible even in the cramped space. Throughout the ship, other teams were moving through similar passages, all converging on predetermined targets. The first phase of their plan was simple: disable communications. David Kim and his team were already in position near the communications array, waiting for Sarah's signal. Once the aliens couldn't coordinate their response, chaos would follow. Sarah reached the junction Marcus had described and carefully removed the access panel. Below her was one of the ship's primary data conduits, a nerve center that connected to systems throughout the Prometheus. More importantly, it connected to the bridge. She pulled out a small device Marcus had constructed from salvaged components. It looked like nothing more than spare parts, but it would serve as a key to unlock the ship's dormant systems. The engineer had spent weeks building it in secret, hiding his work during maintenance duties. Sarah connected the device to the data conduit and whispered the authorization code she had memorized years ago. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, deep in the ship's computer core, systems that had been sleeping for 5 months began to wake up. Lights flickered throughout the vessel. The aliens on duty noticed the anomaly, but they had grown used to the ship's malfunctions. They had never realized that the Prometheus was simply refusing to cooperate with its captors. On the bridge, Overlord Krex was studying tactical displays when his communications officer reported the disturbance. Minor power fluctuation in sectors 7 through 12, the alien reported. Maintenance teams are investigating. Krex barely glanced up from his plans. In 3 hours, they would emerge from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The human homeworld would fall, and the last resistance to the Vorthok Empire would be crushed. A few power fluctuations were irrelevant. He had no idea that throughout his ship, human prisoners were moving with deadly purpose. In the engine room, Chief Petty Officer Lisa Park and her team overpowered their guards using tools and improvised weapons. The aliens had become careless, assuming the humans were broken and defeated. They learned too late that human engineers could be very creative when properly motivated. Dr. Liu and his medical team secured the ship's infirmary, taking control of supplies and treating wounded prisoners who had been injured during their captivity. More importantly, they gained access to the medical bay's computer systems, which connected to the ship's biometric sensors. Jake's security teams moved through the prison sections, freeing other captives and arming them with weapons taken from surprise guards. The aliens had superior technology, but they were outnumbered 10-1 by prisoners who knew every inch of the ship. Sarah reached the bridge access tunnel just as Phase 2 began. Throughout the Prometheus, human voices began speaking authorization codes in unison. The ship's AI, dormant for months, suddenly found itself receiving commands from its rightful crew. Emergency lighting bathed the corridors in red as the Prometheus began to remember what it was built for. Blast doors sealed automatically, trapping alien guards in small groups where they could be overwhelmed. Life support systems adjusted to human preferences, making the environment uncomfortable for the reptilian Vorthax. On the bridge, alarms began screaming. Krex roared orders at his officers, demanding explanations for the cascade of system failures. His communications officer tried desperately to contact different sections of the ship, but found only static. The humans, the communications officer gasped. They've taken control of internal communications. Krex's four hands clenched into fists. He had underestimated the prisoners, treated them as broken tools instead of the dangerous enemies they truly were. Send security teams to the prison sections. Kill them all. But his security teams were already dead or captured. Throughout the ship, human prisoners had turned 5 months of observation and planning into a perfectly coordinated assault. They moved with military precision because they were military, trained to work as a team even under the worst conditions. Sarah dropped through the ceiling access panel onto the bridge just as Krex was bellowing orders. The alien commander spun toward her, his black eyes wide with shock. Around the bridge, his officers reached for weapons, but Anna and Jake emerged from other access points, covering them with captured alien rifles. "Hello, Krex," Sarah said calmly. "I believe this is my bridge." The alien commander snarled and lunged toward her with all 4 arms extended. Jake's rifle hummed, and Krex collapsed, stunned but alive. Sarah wanted him conscious for what came next. "Anna, secure the bridge crew," Sarah ordered. "Jake, get me a status report on the rest of the ship." Anna moved efficiently, disarming the alien officers while Jake activated the bridge communications. Throughout the ship, human voices reported successful operations. The Prometheus was back under human control. "All sections secured, Captain," Jake reported. "Minimal casualties among our people. The aliens never saw it coming." Sarah settled into the captain's chair she had thought she would never see again. The familiar controls responded to her touch as the ship's AI recognized its commanding officer. "Computer, full status report." The synthesized voice that answered was like hearing from an old friend. "Welcome back, Captain Chen. Ship systems are at 60% capacity. Weapons systems are offline. Hyperspace engines are operational. Current course: Earth Solar System. Arrival in 2 hours and 37 minutes. Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens had disabled the weapons to prevent exactly what she was about to do, but they had made one critical error. They didn't understand human engineering philosophy. "Marcus," she said into the communication system. "How long to restore weapons?" The chief engineer's voice crackled back immediately. "Give me 20 minutes, Captain." The aliens disabled the systems, but they didn't remove them. They were too afraid they might break something important. "You have 15 minutes, Sarah replied. "Anna, tactical assessment." The weapons officer was already working at her station, her fingers dancing over controls she knew better than her own heartbeat. Long-range sensors show a Vorthek fleet of approximately 200 vessels waiting at the edge of Earth space. They're expecting us to lead them to the final battle. "They're right," Sarah said. "We are going to lead them to battle, just not the way they expected." While Marcus and his teams worked frantically to restore the ship's weapons, Sarah studied the tactical situation. The Vorthek fleet was massive, designed to overwhelm Earth's remaining defenses. But they were also expecting their command ship to arrive safely, bringing intelligence about human capabilities and weaknesses. Instead, they were about to face the most advanced warship in the Earth Defense Fleet, crewed by some of the most experienced officers in the human military. Officers who had 5 months of rage to work through. "Weapons coming online," Anna reported. "Plasma cannons at full capacity. Missile tubes loaded. Point defense systems active. Hyperspace emergence in 60 seconds, the navigation officer reported. Sarah keyed the ship-wide communications. "All hands, this is Captain Chen. 5 months ago, these aliens captured our ship and made us prisoners. They thought they had broken us. They thought they had won. Today, we're going to show them how wrong they were. Today, we take our ship home." The Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, exactly where the Vorthek fleet expected. Long-range communications immediately lit up with alien chatter as the fleet prepared to begin their final assault. "Captain," the communications officer reported, "the fleet commander is requesting status reports and tactical data." "Give them a status report," Sarah replied. "Fire." The Prometheus opened fire on the nearest Vorthak vessels with every weapon it possessed. Plasma beams lanced through space, cutting through alien shields like paper. Missiles streaked toward their targets, each one guided by systems the aliens had never understood. The surprise was total. The Vorthak fleet had expected their command ship to arrive with prisoners and intelligence. Instead, they faced a fully operational Earth warship with a crew that had personal reasons to hate every alien in the fleet. "Multiple hits on the flagship," Anna reported with satisfaction. "Their shields are down." "Target their engines," Sarah ordered. "I want them alive to see what comes next." Throughout the fleet, Vorthak commanders screamed orders and demands for explanations. How had the humans escaped? How had they taken control of the ship? How were they fighting with such coordination and skill? The answer was simple. They had never stopped being soldiers. 5 months as prisoners hadn't broken them. It had given them time to plan, to prepare, and to get very, very angry. "Earth Defense Command is responding to our signals," the communications officer reported. "They're sending reinforcements." Sarah smiled as she watched alien ships burning in the void. "Tell them we're coming home. And tell them we're bringing a present." The Battle of Earth's Edge lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the Vorthak invasion fleet was either destroyed or surrendering. The Prometheus, battered but victorious, transmitted the alien surrender codes to Earth Defense Command. Overlord Krex, now secured in the same cell where Sarah had been imprisoned, glared at her through the energy field. "This changes nothing, human. My empire will send more fleets." Sarah looked at the alien commander with cold satisfaction. "Let them come. We'll be ready. And next time, we won't make the mistake of taking prisoners." As the Prometheus began its journey back to Earth, Sarah stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. They had been called prisoners, treated as defeated enemies, but they had never surrendered, never given up hope. They were human, and that had made all the difference. The war was far from over, but today humanity had won a victory that would be remembered forever. They had taken their ship back, saved their homeworld, and shown the galaxy that humans were far more dangerous as enemies than anyone had imagined. The Prometheus was going home.